When you're drinking a frozen beverage from McDonald's, your brain may not like how refreshingly cold it is. But the rest of your body, oh yes, it's gonna relish every moment of it. Because there are drinks. Then there are drinks from McDonald's.
Get all the chill you need for just $1.69. From any size frozen drink, like a frozen Fanta Blue Raspberry, to a new ice-cold lemonade. Prices and participation may vary. Cannot be combined with any other offer.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
This is Dream Power Radio, the place where your dreams turn into reality. Here is your host, Debbie Spector-Weissman.
Hello, 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 and welcome to Dream Power Radio on the amazing Women and Men of Power Network, the world's leading positive programming network, powered by Raven International. I'm your host, Debbie Spector-Weissman, the Dream Coach. This is the show where we talk about dreams, both daytime and nighttime dreams, and how you can use them to make the internal shift to a life you love. How are you doing now? If you're healthy and sufficient, by being forced to stay at home, you've actually been given an added gift, the time to look within. Yes, this can be the perfect time for self-transformation. You may be asking yourself, great. How do I do it? We're going to explore the answer to that question with Wendy Darling, the founder of the Miraculous Living Method and a transformational change expert. Welcome to Dream Power Radio, Wendy.
Thanks, Debbie. Great to be here.
Wendy, how are you doing now?
How am I doing? I'm doing well. Are you meaning in reference to what our globe is experiencing?
Yes.
I'm doing well. I actually got hit with the flu early on. I did get tested. My biggest challenge was actually waiting for my test results, which ended up being negative. And I just happened to be one of those people that kind of roll with whatever. You know, we're being very careful. I just went to the grocery store to Trader Joe's this morning, and I had my little mask on. And, you know, people seem to be adapting. And so I think it's good. And just like you, I sit back and go, what's the opportunity here? Because it really has been a forced time out for many people. Some of us are still working, but maybe not quite. You know, my speaking engagements aren't exactly happening in live events right now. But in the scale of things, we're blessed. And, you know, prayers go out to the ones that really are struggling, to the people that are on the front lines, whether it be in the hospitals, whether it be the grocery store clerks. You know, I just felt so, you know, grateful for what they're being willing to do. And I was even grateful when it started pouring down rain as I was leaving Trader Joe's this morning and just got soaked. So I'm doing fine. You know, like all of us, we don't know how this is going to play out. But at the same time, Debbie, you know, it's been really nice. We're all getting creative with how we're connecting with people. We had virtual happy hour with some friends over the weekend. And, you know, God bless Zoom, you know, we're connecting in a whole variety of ways. So, yeah.
Indeed. Well, in the introduction, I did refer to you as a transformational coach. What is your definition of transformation?
For me, it's being able to really shift and get the results that you want. You know, it's not just, oh, I want this mentally. I'm going to think about it. It's actually bringing about to experience it in your life. And this is now my 39th year since I started my own business, which is quite amazing to me. And the thread there, well, there are a few of them, but one of the key threads is I've always been interested in people getting results. And I don't like it when I hear people working with somebody for, you know, huge periods of time and they're still spinning their wheels. And I'm very blessed that I have ways to help people get easier, faster results.
Well, now that many of us who are home and aren't working have time on our hands, I think a lot of people just aren't making the most of that time. Do you think that a lot of people don't realize that they have the choice in how to live their lives?
That's possible. I think that again, it just depends on people's awareness. If, you and I have immersed ourselves in both personal and spiritual growth and pride ourselves. It's not like I walk on water by any means, but, to be very present and aware of what's happening inside of this, as well as our outer world. And so I think people that are probably struggling more are not as in tune to that. But it's really easy to actually begin to become more aware, to be more in tune. And I think that's one of the many gifts that's in existence. Now, some people are binge watching whatever and distracting themselves that way. But I think other people, I don't know about you or anybody else, I can only watch so much TV before I start, or for that matter, even being on my computer. And so it's really a lovely opportunity to get more in tune with that. I know I happen to live in Southern California, and we're blessed that we can, we're in a very rainy part of time right now. But, we can typically get outside for a little bit. And I was on a call just a little while ago with somebody on the East Coast, which is where I believe you are. And, that's been a saving grace to just get outside for a little bit, get some fresh air. Going for a walk helps you get back in your body. It helps you get a little bit more in touch with what you might be feeling, what you're experiencing, what you're worried about, what you're even afraid of. And I also believe, don't push those away. Honor it, but also ask yourself, okay, we don't know how this is going to play out, but right now I'm okay. And we're going to just take this, we're all just taking it a step at a time. So I think it depends. But once again, Debbie, it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity to become more in tune, because when we have that, anything's truly possible, and we know it, and we we believe it.
Oh, I certainly agree that it is an opportunity. We just should take advantage of it in any way we can. What got you interested in personal transformation?
A couple of things. I think there was just this longing inside of me that I just wasn't feeling happy or satisfied. On the outside, you would have thought I had just a phenomenal life. At that time I was married, I had a young child, I had a very successful career, but inside, there was just this inner rumbling. And I actually started to work with somebody, but then I had a really serious accident shortly after that. No correlation whatsoever. I don't want to give the wrong impression. I was traveling. I've done consulting work for many years, and I was traveling from Texas to LA, and I was extremely sick. And I also was very irrational back then. It's been around 30 years ago. And I decided to put common sense aside, and it was like the workhorse in me, the workaholic, was like, the show must go on. So I went to the Dallas airport. I was going to fly. I had a bunch of people waiting for me in LA. And unfortunately, I was sick to my stomach, so I went outside the airport to get some fresh air, and I passed out, and I fell over a ledge, and I fell approximately 25 feet. And I landed on my right leg. It was shattered. I had multiple surgeries, didn't know if I would walk again for about 11 months. And I do. I had some back fractures. I was later diagnosed with a traumatic brain injury, which took a very long time to recover from. Some people might even question to what extent, but that's okay. I can live with that. And actually, in all fairness, I'm very blessed. I have some challenges, but they're minor. And then around week 4 of being in the hospital, my former husband came, suitcases packed, saying he no longer wished to be married any longer. And even though I take my full share of responsibility that contributed to that choice, the timing wasn't exactly optimal. But the real blow happened when we later went to court and he was awarded full custody of our son, who was only 4.5 at the time. And that's really when I broke into a million pieces. And that was when I started to open up to that journey even more. And as I learned how to meditate, I began to sense different things, see different things. I started to really receive and cultivate my healing gifts, and what has now evolved into a whole transformational system. So even though my journey wasn't exactly optimal, it's really beautiful because I've been given such a special gift that allows me to help people get results easier and faster. So I work with people that, since I have a business background, I work with a lot of entrepreneurs to help them grow their business, make more money. I have a More Money Now process that helps to raise people's financial set points and open up the receiver to really connect with and make more money. And I've worked, and one of my other favorites, they're all like children. They're my favorites in different ways, but I also have been blessed that I've helped singles attract love and couples to restore their relationships. And I've worked with kids with learning disabilities and some other things. So it's been kind of diverse, but that's a long answer to your question. But it was a process. It was a journey, and it's a journey that's not over. It continues to just evolve, and it makes me so very happy that I can contribute in this way.
That is wonderful. It's wonderful that you were able to take, what was an awful experience and come out of it. I often talk, I was, when I learned dream work, I was taught dream work in the spirit of the hero's journey. So we talked a lot about, being in the belly of the whale and then coming through and finding the gift and, getting to the end. And it sounds like you were able to do that. One of the things that you did develop was a program called the Miraculous Living Method. So can you explain what that's about?
Yeah, that's my system. And it just kind of, to cliff note it, there are 5 primary pieces to it. First of all, I always have what I call magic wand time. What is it within you that you really want to be experiencing in your life? And we look at 10 different facets of life and see where you are with those. And then from there, I'm able to identify your attraction factor. And that is your entry point of one of those 10 areas that if you focus there first, all the other things will fall into the place a lot easier. And I have a way to help identify that. And it's just amazing. And it's not always an obvious connection. So let's say, for example, you came to me because you wanted to make more money. Well, I've had people that actually needed to start dating. And once they did that, I had somebody come to me because I helped a friend of theirs release excess weight. And in her case, she needed to focus on her career and ended up shifting jobs. And guess what happened shortly after she started her new job? The weight started coming off. So, and then there are times it's business to business. So that too is just a wonderful place. And then the third component is really the method itself. And this is a 3-pronged system. So part of what happens when I do my healing work is it comes through me through song and energy. So I'm able, if I would be working with you, I close my eyes. It doesn't matter if you're right in front of me, if you're on the East Coast, if you're in Australia, I see your energy. Please don't ask me how that happens, because I can't tell you that. It just does. And and then we work with, I can see kind of like an X-ray where there are dark areas or places that need this renewed energy to come in and restore you. So it's not like, oh, we're going to find this, we're going to release it, we're going to fix it. Instead of going backwards, we look at what you're wanting to create, and then I'm able to see and shift the interference. And then a key piece in my system is what I refer to as brain training. A lot of times affirmations alone are very challenging to actually work with both the conscious and the subconscious mind. And so people are able to either work with me personally or listen to one of my audios, but I also have transformational cards. These are designs that came through me many years ago. Now, 19 years ago, that's hard to believe. And it creates a very unique circuitry. And so you'll listen to the audio, you'll have your hands on your cards, and then either I test for what statements you need to be making so that you're training your mind to be in alignment with what it is you want to create. Because if we don't do that, you risk, there are a lot of wonderful people doing release work, but if we don't work with the mind to be in partnership with what it is you want to actually have happen, you risk defaulting into old patterns. And that's just not okay in my world. So that's kind of the essence. And then, of course, then we look at inspired action. So it's not like, we all can sit at home and hope that somebody knocks on the door and voila. But what happens is your intuition, first of all, is way dialed up after working for a bit. And you will know either what's your next step or two to take. And what's also really nice is it takes away the hesitation or the procrastination that sometimes occurs. So you're able to take that inspired action much easier.
That's very interesting. I want to find out more about this, but it's time for a little break. We are speaking with transformational coach Wendy Darling. We'll be right back.
When is a car not a car?
When it shows up in your dreams. Cars are one of the most common dream symbols. If you don't know why you're dreaming about cars or any image, it can leave you confused or scared. But that dream could be a solution to a pressing problem, or an insight into a solution that's been bugging you for years. Go to my website and sign up for a complimentary discovery session, and I'll help you understand why a dream is a terrible thing to waste. Go to thedreamcoach.net for more information.
Welcome back to Dream Power Radio with your host, Debbie Spector-Weissman.
Yes, and welcome back to Dream Power Radio. I'm your host, Debbie Spector-Weissman, and we're speaking with transformational expert Wendy Darling. Wendy, your system sounds really wonderful, but I want to get back to one of the things you said where somebody came in with wanting to make more money and then ended up having to date. What's the connection to that? And give me the details on what went on with that particular person. How did that work out?
Yeah, that was interesting. Somebody came to work with me because their business was just, they were losing clients, they couldn't get new ones, and so they were really in a free fall. And this was in the very early stages. I love using this example because this was in the early stages of my attraction factor, where I was looking at entry points. I don't even remember how I came up with it, but I did. And in his case, his entry point of where he needed to focus first was dating. Now, what I love about this system is if it were up to just me and my mind, I would never have recommended that. I would have said, he had been divorced for a while, and he would probably have agreed with me. Let's get this piece handled. Let's get your business starting back up again. And then we can talk about, maybe dating. But no, in his case, his entry point was to date. And at that time, he was living in Costa Rica. He had moved there from Florida. He started Get Online. He was talking to women. He actually met a woman who lived in Brazil. And they had this immediate connection. They were talking all the time, started to develop a relationship. And as this was happening, and this was in a very short period of time, guess what started happening? Suddenly he was opening up more. He was having new opportunities. In fact, it was a very short time. It's been a long time now. But I want to say definitely no more than 3 months, and it could have even been less. He actually moved to Brazil to be with this woman because he had the type of business that didn't require him to physically be in one place. So there was no logical explanation for this. This is where I surrender to the process as opposed to me coming up with whatever. Now, I always have ideas and I'm very intuitive, but I love what this provides because it takes us out of what we think we should do and moves us into more what's going to support you. And that's where I just surrender to the powers that be and say, okay, I'm going to trust you guys know better than me. It's all good.
Okay, one of the things you said before was that you didn't like these kind of programs that last for a long, long time and that you are out to get results. So how long does your process take?
Well, it depends, but most of my clients work with me for about 3 months. Within a 3-month period of time, I know that they're positioned really well. They have a solid foundation. They're clear. They're aligned. They know how to work with the system themselves. So it's not like they need me. Some people do work longer because maybe their life is just growing and they want the additional support and make sure that they're clear. And then occasionally some people will come back and get what I call a tune-up. And so I like that. I have had people that have worked with me for several months, but I also like that it's not critical. So yeah, that's how it works.
And do you find that people come to you with a specific problem, or they come to you because they just are in a not sure what they want state?
Both. I've had people that have been, say, in careers for quite some time and they're feeling restless, or they don't want to do that anymore, but they're not sure what they do want. They feel that there's something more that is kind of waiting for them, but they can't tap into it yet. And then a lot of people come with very specific ideas of what they want, whether it be a single person wanting to finally attract love. I just recently received an invitation to one of my clients who's in Australia. She has her wedding in June. She's 55 and getting married for the very first time. It makes me so happy. It's a wonderful, wonderful man. And so it depends. But I would say more times than not, people have a sense of what they want. What ends up happening, though, even with the woman that I just mentioned, she had heard me on a show, and she decided she wanted to work with me, and she really did want to work with me to attract love into her life and a relationship. And in her case, though, she was a high-level executive working for a company and had been for many years. And her position was in Canada. She was Australian. And not too long after we started working together, she was like, I I think I'm a little bored. I don't think I can go anywhere else in this company. Maybe it's time to consider making a change, maybe even going back to Australia. And I don't want to take up our time talking about the ins and outs of all of that. But she did, out of the blue. I said, well, dust off your resume, Google maybe some search firms in Australia. Out of the blue, within just a couple of weeks, a recruiter, this is what I love about this, a recruiter reaches out to her. No correlation. She had no communication with this person. It was a different position. She got the position. She took it. It was a horrible. She walked into just a hornet's nest. Terrible boss. Oh my gosh. We spent a chunk of time just helping her trying to navigate through that. And I remember even saying, oh my God, this guy better show up soon. And he did. He did. About 4 months into her having made the transition, he did. And they've been together now for about 1.5 years. So,
do you see any correlation with your program and something like the law of attraction?
Maybe a little, yeah. You know, what I do was given to me. And I have read lots of books. I've studied different things. So I guess you could say a piece of this also has to do with that, because I do teach people how to manifest what they're wanting. I can't say I do it completely the way another person might recommend. I've just found something that works for me and my clients. So yeah.
You also not only just work with individuals, but you also work with groups and businesses, right? Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, I've done corporate consulting for many years on and off. My experience there is really to help kind of replenish the culture and work with executives and their teams. My lane has always been culture, leadership, and team development. And I think, again, we're in a very unique opportunity where there are so many people that have been overworked, undervalued. We have a huge disengagement issue in companies today. And I don't know how many organizations, first of all, care. They should, are concerned, definitely should be, or even know to what extent. And so it's an opportunity to really kind of put more love and kindness and consideration and collaboration into the workforce. And then some of my programs from time to time, my personal growth programs, I'll offer in a group setting. But my corporate work, I work within a company. That's not just like, I don't have a leadership program and then say, whoever wants to come can come. I'll do that in-house.
Okay. You also advocate something called a relationship quotient to see how well you're able to work with people. What's that about? Can you tell me how that works?
Yeah, well, anybody that knows me knows that everything to me is all about our relationships. The relationship we have with ourselves, the relationship we have with others, your spiritual relationship, we could, tie that to anything. And there's been a lot about IQ, our intelligence. That's where it began. That's what was most common to be understood. And then quite a few years ago, then we started hearing a little bit more about EQ, emotional quotient. And that's being more in touch with your feelings and kind of taking responsibility for who you are and how you're feeling and how you're presenting yourself. However, what makes the real difference is the RQ, your relationship quotient. How are you at connecting with other people? How are you, whether you're a manager, an employee, a friend, a relative, whatever, that is the richness of what allows us to experience life today. And so many, most of us didn't have a relationship course when we grew up. We certainly didn't have a relationship course of any kind with parenting. And we could keep going on with that conversation. So I believe that IQ plus EQ plus RQ equal successful results.
Wow. Tell you, there's so much here. And I'd love to talk more about it, but we are just about out of time. So I just have time for one final question, Wendy, which is, how can people find out more about you and your services?
Oh, sure. Well, the easiest is you can go to my website, wendydarling.com, just how it sounds, Wendy, wendydarling.com. And if you ever want to just have what I call a little heart-to-heart, there's a place that you can schedule that. There's lots of information on that website. And also you can email me, wendy@wendydarling.com.
Wonderful. Well, Wendy, thank you so much for being on Dream Power Radio today.
Oh, Debbie, my pleasure.
We've been speaking with transformational change expert Wendy Darling. I hope you've enjoyed today's program. Until next time, this is Debbie Spector-Weissman saying, sweet dreams, everybody.
You've been listening to Dream Power Radio with your host, Debbie Spector-Weissman. For more information on Debbie or to sign up for her newsletter, go to dreampowerradio.com. This has been Dream Power Radio on the amazing Women and Men of Power Network, the world's leading positive programming network, powered by Raven International.